Shalom uvracha. This week, our local community experienced a very heartwarming moment. To recap, a young man went missing and his family put out a plea for help. And thousands, maybe tens of thousands, dropped what they were doing. Most didn't know who the person was, didn't connect to the family specifically or directly, but thousands literally stopped what they were doing and did two things. Number one, they searched, they pitched in and helped. And number two, they prayed together in unity for the boy's safe return. And Baruch Hashem, within a matter of hours, the boy was returned. There was tefillot of hoda'ah. The family sent a beautiful letter of thanks. It was very heartwarming, very unifying, very amazing to see. How does something like this happen? How do we make sure that something like this happens all the time? This week's parasha is Parashat Naso, and it gives us a pretty good idea of what the Torah thinks about how this should be. The parasha describes Hanukat HaMishkan, the opening of the Mishkan. And there was a particular procedure that had to happen, which was that the heads of each tribe, and there are 12 tribes, very different tribes, each had to bring korbanot, they each had to bring an offering to the Mishkan on a 12-day sequence. The first 12 days of Nisan, they each brought a korban. And the Torah tells us the name of each Nasi and the korbanot that he brought on each day. And what's interesting, and anyone who's a little bit familiar with the Torah knows, is that each Nasi brought the exact same korban as the first Nasi brought. Every Nasi, each and every day, brought the same korban. And what's really interesting is that the Torah takes great pains, which it normally does not do. The Torah is normally very brief and does not use extra words. But the Torah, in the longest chapter of the entire Torah because of this, details and describes each and every korban that was brought by each and every Nasi, even though it's the same. And people ask, how come the Torah doesn't do what it normally does, which is to just say, hey, the Kohani, they brought the korbanot, and here's what they brought, and the same every day, and do that in 10 pisukim instead of 89 as the Torah does in this week's parasha. I believe the answer is because the Torah wanted to emphasize this point, to call it to our attention, and recognize a very important thing that the Nisi'im did. The Nisi'im could have each brought different korbanot, and as many have pointed out, the second Nasi could have tried to one-up the Nasi before him, and then the third Nasi would have one-upped the guy who came before him, and so on and so forth. But what the Torah wanted to emphasize, what the Nisi'im did, was that what they wanted to make sure, especially at the inauguration of the Mishkan, which was all about serving Hashem, they wanted to make sure that they highlighted the common bonds between all of the different people, the common bonds between all the different tribes, because it's the common and the recognition of that we're all in it for the same basic purposes that can unite us, and that we have to be careful, even though we're different, not to be divided. Even though they were 12 tribes, they are not one tribe, they are not one group of people. Each person is different, each tribe is different, and there are differences, and those differences have to be respected. Nevertheless, we have to also recognize that when it comes to the key things, especially when it comes to serving Hashem, what's more key than that, we're all in it for the same reason, and recognizing that is the key. And that's kind of what happened this week with that young boy who was missing. We have differences, different people pray in different synagogues, go to different schools, belong to different things, and maybe we don't always get along about everything that we have. But when it comes to family and care for one another, we'll drop everything and we'll pay attention to that, and that'll be important. Could we have a more important message for the United States of America than today? The Jewish people, we are here for this purpose, is so that the United States of America and the world can learn our values, because our values are what count. And our values are what the United States of America is built on. The founding fathers looked to the Torah for its founding principles. The idea that all human beings are created with equal dignity is not a universal idea. It's an idea that comes from us, from the Jewish people, and it's something that we have to hold on to. And we have to recognize the very important fact that every human being, every human life, no matter what race or anything about them, every human life deserves the dignity, and we have to treat that person with the dignity. Every human life is Tselem Elohim. This is our value, the Torah value. And it hurts me to see that a lot of our community members over the last couple of days and weeks responding to the national events have not embraced this idea. And I'm not talking about whether or not you go to a protest or a riot or so on, but we recognize, it's very important for us to recognize, every single one of us, to recognize that every human being has dignity, has value. This is a Torah value, it's very important. And as a matter of self-preservation, it's even more important, because it's important for us that there be a country like the United States of America that holds to that value. Because if history has taught us nothing, it has taught us that when a society doesn't respect everyone, we, the Jews, will not be respected. If we're not going to care about the blacks or the whites or the Chinese or the whoever it may be, if we're not going to watch out for them, believe me, it will not be long before they start coming for us, and we won't be safe. So from a Torah value, we have to celebrate diversity and the dignity of every human being, and for self-preservation, we need to do this. This is the message of the Nisiim. The way that we do that, the way that we hold on to that value, is to recognize that despite the many differences that Hashem blesses us with, the common bonds that tie us, the common bonds that unite us, are more important and more valuable. And we can't let ourselves be divided. Look at the name of the country that we live in. It's the same idea as the Nisiim. It's not America. It's the United States of America. It's different people, different groups, different locations, different backgrounds, but they unite for a common cause. It's one of the greatest blessings in the history of the world, is the United States of America. We celebrate it, we love it. It's built on the values of the Torah, and we have to make sure that we take care of it. We have to make sure that we take care of it, and the way that we take care of it is standing for the beliefs. I read a very interesting thing just the other day, that in World War II, the Nazis tried to divide our people because they knew the strength of the United States of America was our unity. The generals were telling the soldiers as they were invading Normandy, they were going into to fight the Nazis in Germany, be careful for them trying to sow divisions with all of the propaganda they're trying to show. Our strength as Americans and our strength as the Jewish people is when we're able to hold on to this idea of seeing the common bond, seeing what our shared purposes are, and seeing that that's more important. And that doesn't mean to ignore the differences. See the differences, respect the differences, and sometimes different is different. But don't lose sight of the common bonds. Don't lose sight of the common purpose. You know, I heard someone say, there's this America and that America, the white America, the black America, the blue America, the red America, the liberals. Let me say one thing that's very, very important, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from when I say this. Like Hashem told Adam in Gan Eden, there's only one Gan Eden, there's only one world. It's yours to use, it's your beracha, but it's yours to lose. And if you don't take care of it, it'll be gone. There's one America. There's only one America. And we have to take care of all the people in America. And we have to respect and love all the people of America, because America is a good thing. The United States of America is something that's important to us. It's given us a tremendous beracha, and we have to stand up for it. We have to protect it. We have to love it. And we have to understand that the values upon which it's built, going back to George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, et al., all of them, they all understood that the way that America works is when we unite around our common causes. The message of the Torah of this week's parasha, Parashat Naso. So let's get together. Let's follow leaders and the leaders that unite us and bring us together. We have to make sure that we stand for unity. We stand together. That's our strength. United we stand. Divided we cannot. Shabbat Shalom.